Alright, everybody. It's me. I don't know. I know it's shadowy. It's bright as heck, but I'm gonna move you over here. First of all, just broke my freaking glasses, so that's fun. Um, golly. Oh, no. So, yeah, I haven't done a video in a while because no reason. I really do. I mostly do these for me. I'm not even fully certain that there's anybody out there watching these. It's not like I have a lot of people subscribed or anything. I have like one plus. I don't even know what that means. I did at one point have 10, but whatever. That was funny to me. Having 10. But yeah. No, it's cool that I don't have a lot of subscribers, and I'm probably, this is nothing more than, keep your mind occupied kind of deal. So, I'm gonna, in a minute, I'll do, read a little for you, and if you care, one way or another. Or maybe I won't. And I'll just go back to the couch and watch wrestling and whatnot. Damn it. Fucking glasses. Oh, man. Oh. I literally just bustificated my glasses. So, that's I don't know, man. I'm hoping, here's the parts are getting ready to open. They announced their opening dates tomorrow. I have not heard anything from my bosses. And I wish I would. Um, for real, man. I don't know. If I continue doing these videos, they're gonna be kind of sporadic. Um, I really just started doing these as a way to keep up my public speaking skills and to as just one more thing to keep my mind occupied. But as we close in on reopening, um, just kind of, yeah. I don't know, man. I'm anxious and excited, and I'm hoping most people are respectful and the mask thing, man. That's a big deal. I'm hoping most people are just reasonable about it, and realize it's not about their personal BS. Oh, it's my body, my choice. It's not about you. If it were about you, then fuck, I would agree with you. It's about other people. the majority of us don't even wear the masks that are will actually protect us. It's about not getting other people sick. You know, I've said it a million times in previous videos. Probably, well, that's hyperbole, people. That's not real. Of course, I haven't actually said it a million times. I've not said it 1 million times. I've said it a few times. That it's about your responsibility to your fellow man. We can't just be selfish. Took 40. Well, I've never been fully selfish, but I've had my moments. A lot of really severe. But, like, to truly realize that it wasn't about me took a little while. But some of these people are old, my age and older. You know, like, it's not about you. It is about all of us because we are interconnected. We are socially interconnected. You can talk about globalization while you support a globalist. Um, that's one of my faves, man. I don't. I'm trying. I'm not an apolitical person because that is one of the great fallacies of of the universe is that there's any such thing as apolitical. Because even choosing not to be political is a political choice. You may not believe that, but it's the truth. And deep down inside, I know you do. You know it. You may not, like I said, you may not agree with it. You may not like it, and you may not believe it. But it's, it is truth, right? Anyways, we'll be go. I'll be going back to work. Like I said, the parks make their announcement on opening. They'll both the majors, all the majors will make their announcements tomorrow. For right now, like they were scheduled the 31st and the 1st, or the 31st for Universal, and I believe, I could be wrong, correct me if I am, I don't even know how to get to my comments, so don't actually correct me. I believe Disney was supposed to open, I think, the 8th of June, but those were chosen prior to shutdown. So I don't know, but we'll see tomorrow. Tomorrow they are supposed to make their announcements. It'll be kind of, I'm not worried about me. I do worry that we are too soon. Like the infection rate is still going up. We're still seeing more deaths. We're not seeing fewer. Like, it's not going down. If I'm wrong, once again, unless you're my sister, I won't see this. Like, I have this phone and that's it. So, unless if you're a medical expert, an actual medical expert, not, I watched some videos from some kooks. Type of medical expert, then don't correct me. But if you are an actual medical expert, correct me. I won't see it, but feel free. Um, like I, you know, it's going up. We're still getting more people sick. We're not getting fewer. It hasn't plateaued. The whole idea was to flatten the curve. Well, a few states may have, and a few areas of states may have, but as a nation, certainly worldwide, we haven't. A few countries have. Taiwan had. Taiwan did it. And they did it without help from the WHO. New Zealand, I believe, did. Italy, who got whacked, they're doing much better now. Spain, same thing. We'll see. Taiwan did it without closing. And, they're a democracy, they're a capitalistic society. But they tracked everybody, they tested on a much greater percentage-wise level than a lot of other countries. They really did great on their social distancing. They got masks out to the PPE out to everybody. They helped. So they were the first ones to say, why don't we shut down travel from Wuhan? They were the first ones. They did a lot of really smart things. I don't even know where I set my book. Oh my god. Anyways, what I really came on here for is I'm gonna try to continue doing these videos. It helps me clear my mind. I'll try doing a reading one. As a matter of fact, I still might. Bear with me. Oh, it's right here. Oh, perfect. I will go ahead and do a little reading. But anyways, basically it's gonna get a little sporadic. It's already been a little sporadic. I don't know if I have people really watching. You know what? If you do watch this and you like it, please share and comment. Like I said, it'll be a while before I have a computer again. So, I don't see them. I don't know what to do, how to make it more interactive. I wish I could. I probably still wouldn't look at your comments. Anyways, man, I'm gonna read. So I'll start. This will probably kick me off anyways. Someday, Bruce replied with a nod. Thoughts lingering on Madeline. He could could still hear her body framed by floodlights. Oh, God. Someday, Bruce replied with a nod, his thoughts lingering on Madeline. He could still see her body framed by floodlights, still feel the way she trembled against him as he held her. It replayed over and over in his mind. He shook his head. He was not the only one traumatized from the previous night. Many people were also picking up the pieces this morning. Harvey leaned back in his chair and sighed. I think you might have to resign yourself to being forever on Gotham City's front pages, he said, even though his words were tinged with a note of sadness. All they want is the latest scoop on your story. They're trying to grab interviews with everyone who even remotely knows you. The tabloids are already making up their own stories about what really happened. Shameless. Diane shook her head. You're going to have to wear a mask or something to avoid this circus around you. Bruce wondered what she'd say if she knew about his suit. His attention shifted back to Harvey. He nodded at the backpack his friend was carrying with him. Hey, he said, what's that for? Harvey looked at him, then took a deep breath, so he began hesitantly. Remember how I turned my dad in? Diane smiled in anticipation of what Harvey was about to say, but Bruce was silent, remembering Harvey's words as he helped Bruce break out of the precinct. He nodded, waiting for Harvey to continue. Well, it looks like he's going to get some prison time. So I was wondering, that is, Harvey's voice caught for a moment as he struggled to get the words out. I was wondering if it'd be okay with you if I stayed at your place just for a while. Just for a few weeks until college starts in the fall. I have most of my stuff with me. He nodded at his small, worn backpack. Of course, if that's too much. We hit it. Hit the brakes. Of course, if that's too much trouble. I thought it was Bruce speaking. Oh, I was doing so mediocre. Bruce's eyes widened a little. Harvey was finally leaving his father behind for good. Harvey looked like he was about to start stammering out an apology, but Bruce leaned forward and stopped him with a steady stare. Stay. Stay as long as you want. Harvey hesitated a moment longer. Figured I should be a little brave, too, he said. Bruce put a hand on his friend's shoulder. You're braver than I've ever been. Diane pulled Harvey into a hug, and Bruce did the same, savoring their company. This right here was everything. They didn't have to come over today, he thought. Both of them had suffered in their own way last night, and they were probably as exhausted as himself. But here they were, anyway, at his side, trying to cheer him up. It's all about you, ain't it, Brucey? But here they were, anyway, at his side, trying to cheer him up. And he found himself deeply grateful for these friends with whom he could simply be. He stayed until Alfred came back outside, telling Bruce he had another visitor. Bruce excused himself, rose from the table, and left Diane and Harvey, listing out what concerts they could catch before college started. He headed back inside the mansion, where a tall figure waited for him at the foyer. It was Detective Draken, standing with a stranger Bruce hadn't met before. She turned at the sound of Bruce approaching, then held her hand out to shake his, and one of her hands clutched awkwardly for a bundle of flowers and a card. "Hello, Bruce," she said. She nodded to the man at her side. "This is Detective James Gordon." I was wondering when he was showing up. Really? This far in? The detective offered Bruce a kind look as they shook hands. He was young, but something about him, his thick brows, his deep set eyes against the weathered, fair skin, made him look wiser than his years. "An honor, Mr. Wayne." "You too, sir." "Gordon's coming in from Chicago," Draken added. "He'll be filling my space at GCPD." Bruce looked sharply at her. "Filling your space?" "I've been offered a promotion in Metropolis and will be leaving GCPD at the end of the month to head their security force." At that, Bruce couldn't help but smile a little. "Congratulations, Detective." "It's thanks to you, really." Draken waved the flowers uncomfortably until Alfred put her out of her misery by taking them and going off to find a vase. "The guys at the precinct wanted to send that," she said as she adjusted her glasses. "Once you're feeling better, we'd like to invite you down to formally accept a certificate of honor for your actions." Bruce looked down at the open card. Inside were scrawled a bunch of signatures. After all I've put you guys through, he said, offering Draken a wide grin. "This is too much." Draken put a hand on her hip, but she was smiling too. "Just take the damn flowers, Wayne, before I change my mind." "What's the certificate for?" "For taking decisive action and saving both officers' civilian lives." "That took serious courage, Mr. Wayne, disabling the drones." Draken shrugged as if unsure how to praise him. "For your heroics," she added. "We couldn't have accomplished any of this without your help." "Well done," Gordon said. Bruce hesitated. "And Richard Price?" he ventured. "What's going to happen to him?" "There will be charges against him, but he's been very cooperative in helping us track down any night walkers who escaped. And we'll make sure to adjust his sentence to match what happened to him. The police don't do that. To justice sentence to match what happened to him. I know he's your friend, Bruce, and he's quite remorseful. Bruce imagined Richard's life going forward, without a father, with guilt hanging over his shoulders, after falling in with a crowd that had changed his life. Maybe after serving his time, Richard could find some solace and peace with his remaining family. Thank you, Detective. Draken gave him a kind smile. Look, Bruce, I know I originally came down hard on you. When you first landed yourself in community service, I wanted to remind you that you can't just go around doing whatever you like. But you have your reasons for seeking out justice. I've actually enjoyed working with you these past couple of months. Through all the ups and downs, you're a good kid. With a good heart. And with that, and with what you've seen and suffered, that's not nothing. Thank you, Detective. Bruce decided to say, was he good? He had hurt those people he loved before. He had disobeyed orders 100 times over. But perhaps there was something at the end of all of that. Something that would make more sense to him as he stepped into his parents' legacy. One edge of his lips tilted up. So, do I have more probation to look forward to? Not that I don't enjoy probation. At that, both detectives let out a chuckle, and for a moment Draken sounded more like herself. Not this time, no. She confirmed, given the situation you were involved in and what you contributed, you've been granted a full pardon and your record will be cleared of anything from this case. She fixed Bruce with a stern frown. Don't push your luck, Dell. Let's make this the last time you cross hairs with GCPD. The last time. I doubt I'll ever be involved with anything this intense again. Draken pursed her lips. I suppose not. This time, Bruce noticed an uneasy expression pass on the detective's features as if there was still something else on her mind. Gordon leaned forward. We found evidence linking Cameron Wallace to the three murders originally put on Madeline. We didn't know he was alive, so our DNA evidence against her is looking less conclusive. She was there, but she likely didn't commit the murders. Bruce nodded numbly, trying not to picture Madeline's still body. Then he looked at Detective Draken. He noticed the grimace on her face again. The curious part of his mind flared up. What aren't you telling me, Detective? And from behind Bruce came Alfred's voice as he turned from the kitchen. You might as well tell him, Detective, Alfred said. He'll find out on his own one way or another. Draken rubbed her temple once, then straightened her blazer. Madeline, her body vanished from the hospital an hour after we took her in. Bruce stilled. What? Retract her to the airport learned that she had already managed to take a flight out of the country. Madeline hadn't died, not even close. She was alive. She had fooled the medical teams into taking her into the hospital, and in the chaos, she had slipped away. Bruce thought back to her pale face, her tears, her farewells, another final con. He couldn't help lowering his head and letting out a single laugh. Of course, she found a way to free herself. Well, Bruce said after a long pause, she must have found a way to wire all the money to herself, wherever she is now. Well, sorry. I apologize. Gordon cleared his throat. And Bruce looked at him. What? He asked. Madeline didn't take the money from the Nightwalker's accounts. Bruce paused at that. She didn't? No. She funneled everything into a charity. The Gotham City Legal Protection Fund just received a donation in her mother's name, in the millions. At that, Bruce looked back and forth between the detectives. The Gotham City Legal Protection Fund, that was the charity his mother had always contributed to with her benefits. The group that defended those who couldn't afford to defend themselves in court. Madeline hadn't just given away the Nightwalker's money to it. As the detectives fell into conversation, Bruce found himself looking out the windows and wondering what had gone through her mind as she did it. What prompted the move? Perhaps she no longer believed that they were fighting for opposite sides. Perhaps, no, you really are. Perhaps she no longer believed that they were fighting for opposite sides. Perhaps she had changed. He had changed her just as she had changed him. Perhaps it was a final gesture of goodwill, whether they'd been friends or enemies or more. Or perhaps, after all the lies between them, this was her way of telling him the truth of who she really was. Alright. We'll stop there for right now. No, actually, as far as this story is concerned, we don't have that much longer, so we can keep going. A full moon illuminated the streets of Gotham City tonight, painting its corners black and white and silver. Bruce tore down the freeway in a new car, lost in thought. Earlier in the day, he had joined Harvey at the airport to see Diane off as she flew to England. Later in the week, he would do the same with Harvey as his friend headed off to college. And soon Bruce would step into university life himself, right here in Gotham City, and into the shoes of his parents at Lucius, as Lucius and Alfred continued to groom him for Wayne Industries. Dr. Brooke Baker. It seemed like life had organized itself again. Tends to do that. That all the blocks of his future had aligned in the appropriate order, and he knew exactly what he needed to do. Everything was back to normal. No, Never. There is no such thing. And yet, as Bruce drove, he still felt like he didn't quite know where he was going. The GPS in his car kept dinging, reminding him he needed to make a turn eventually if he was going to head back home. But he kept driving forward, passing the intersection, one intersection after another. His thoughts lingered on the pockets of his life that still, after everything, seemed unfulfilled. Waiting half an hour later, waiting half an hour later, he realized he had ended up right in front of Gotham City Concert Hall. Bruce parked his car in the empty lot, then pulled on his long coat and walked towards the building. The streets here that had once teemed with police and flashing lights were now empty, and the concert hall itself had shrouded in shadows. Instead of illuminated by floodlights. A cold breeze blew about him, and he hiked up the collar of his dark coat so that only the upper half of his face could be seen. Mm-hmm. 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 Do, 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 do. There was no event at the hall tonight, but the outer stairwell doors were unlocked, so he went in, taking the stairs all the way up to the hall's roof. Once there, he headed to the ledge, where he could see the glittering lights of the entire city. It seemed strange that only a few months ago he had set foot inside Arkham Asylum and found himself face to face with a girl who seemed to exist in a realm between black and white. Pardon me. I have fixed those glasses. It seemed strange that only a few months ago he had set foot inside Arkham Asylum and found himself face to face with a girl who seemed to exist in a realm between black and white, who seemed a force of evil, then of good, and then everything in between. He could still remember their first meeting, her seated against the wall with her eyes glancing briefly in his direction, her expression unreadable, her thoughts hidden behind the dark wall of her gaze. What had gone through her mind during that first moment? What had she seen in him? Just another billionaire mark? Her ticket to escaping Arkham? Or had she seen someone worth talking to? Bruce reached into his pocket and pulled out the letter that Madeline had left him before her escape from Arkham. He had folded and refolded it, first into a flower, then into a diamond, then back again. So many times now, following the lines which he had originally made. The creases were starting to fray, leaving fine tears in the paper. He read the words again. Dear Bruce, We're not a very smart match, are we? I can't think of a story where the billionaire and the murderer end up happily ever after. So let's call us even. Thank you for helping me get out of this place. And you're welcome for the months of entertainment. I hope you'll remember me. XO MW. Bruce studied her words for a moment. Then when he'd first read it, oh my god. Well, oh man. When he had first read it, he had found her note mocking, taunting him for being so foolish to allow her to escape. Now the words sounded wistful, even nostalgic, a letter yearning for something that would never be, a final note to him in case their paths never crossed again. Maybe she had done that on purpose. It was difficult to tell with her. In spite of himself, he could feel a small smile turning his lips up at the memory of their conversations together, the knowledge that she was still out there somewhere, no doubt carving a new path for herself. Maybe they weren't a smart match, but fate had matched them anyway. And someday, in some future, perhaps they would be matched again. He wondered what he would say if he ever saw her again. He would tell her that he wished they could have met in a different world without glass between them. Finally, he refolded the note and put it carefully back into his pocket. Bruce closed his eyes, breathed, and listened to the evening settle in. Somewhere deep in Gotham City, you could hear the sound of sirens. Defenders of justice beginning another night of work. Yeah, cops are defenders of justice. From a distance, Bruce was almost certainly almost certainly invisible. A tiny silhouette lost against the shadows of the concert hall and the city behind it. There were no lights in the sky for him, no faces turned up in his direction, no one calling his name. No one might ever know that he stood there, a silent sentinel watching over the city. But looking out, all he saw was an ocean of light, the shimmering heart of Gotham City spread out before him. He didn't know everything his future held for him, not yet, but he knew that whatever it was, it would remain here. It looked like a place worth protecting. It looked like home. Oh, we got an acknowledgement about the author and the first chapter of another book. But we'll leave that for some other time. Y'all have a good